Detach, and you'll discover they weren't running from you. They were running from the version of you that didn't know his own worth. My friends, that's the truth most people never tell you. The hardest part about letting go isn't the silence. It's the fear of being forgotten. But here's the paradox. When you stop chasing, you don't fade. You shine brighter. When you let go, you don't lose. You gain. And when you detach, you become the one thing they can't escape. Listen to me. If you've ever felt like you had to beg for love, chase someone's attention, or keep proving yourself just to be noticed, today is the day that story ends. Right now, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and stay with me. Because what I'm about to share with you will not only flip the way you see relationships, but it will also put the power right back where it belongs, in your hands. Hey folks, imagine this. You're standing in a wide open field holding on to a kite. The wind is strong, the string is tight, and you're pulling with everything you've got. But the harder you pull, the more the kite fights you. The string cuts into your hands, the wind feels heavier, and the kite is desperate to break free. Then suddenly, you let go, and instead of flying away forever like you feared, that kite wobbles, shakes, and crashes to the ground. That's what chasing does. It makes you believe your grip is keeping them around, when in reality, it's your letting go that makes them realize they can't soar without you. We've been sold a lie, my friends. We've been told that love equals constant effort, constant availability, constant proving. If I just show them how much I care, they'll come back. No, they don't come back because of your explanations. They don't come back because of your tears, your late-night texts, or your desperate calls. They come back when they feel your absence. They come back when your silence gets louder than their noise. They come back when they realize the energy you gave so freely can't be found anywhere else. Think about it. People don't beg for what's easy to reach. They beg for what they thought they could replace but couldn't. They chase what's rare. They chase what they doubted they'd ever lose. That's why detachment isn't weakness. It's power. It's not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a brand new chapter where you're no longer the one waiting. You're the one becoming. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's what detachment is. It's not about controlling them. It's about mastering you. It's not about punishing. It's about protecting your peace, your energy, your dignity. And let's be real. When you detach, at first it feels like you're disappearing. You'll think, if I stop showing up, they'll forget me. But here's the funny thing. That's when they start remembering you most. They remember your warmth when the room turns cold. They remember your light when the night feels darker than expected. They remember your fire when the sparks they ran to burn out too quickly. So don't fear detachment. Embrace it, because detachment is not giving up. It's growing up. It's saying, I no longer chase what doesn't choose me. And when you do that, when you walk with that calm, rare, unshakable energy, people don't just notice. They feel it. They wonder. They question. And eventually, they chase. So say this with me, right now. I choose my power. Write it in the comments below. Let the world see you're done handing out your worth for free. And if this is hitting your soul right now, smash that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because what's coming next will show you exactly how detachment turns confusion into curiosity, and curiosity into regret. Stay ready, my friends. Stay rare. Stay rising. Number 1. They expected you to wait. Never make someone a priority when all you are to them is an option. Those are the words of Maya Angelou, and my friends, they cut like glass because they expose one of the hardest truths you'll ever have to face. When they walked away, they didn't just leave your side, they left with the quiet confidence that you would still be there, waiting, emotionally frozen in the same spot they abandoned you. And that right there is what haunts so many people in silence. Because deep down, you start asking yourself, what if they never look back? What if detaching means I lose them forever? What if silence is the final nail in the coffin? Imagine this with me. You're at a train station, luggage in hand, standing by the tracks. They board the train, wave, and disappear into the horizon. Hours pass, then days. And you? You're still standing on that platform, staring at the tracks, waiting for a train that may never return. The fear is real. The questions are loud. What if they're smiling with someone else right now? What if they forgot me already? What if I was just a chapter they closed while I'm still holding on to the book? That fear is paralyzing. It convinces you that waiting is safer than walking, that holding on is safer than letting go. But my friends, that's the lie. That's the illusion they left you in. They didn't leave because you had no value. They left because they assumed your value had peaked. They thought you wouldn't evolve without them. They thought they could walk away and you'd still be stuck in the same place, the same routine, the same pain. And maybe for a while, they were right. Maybe at first, you did wait. You replayed old memories. You stared at their photos until the pixels blurred. You scrolled through their page, your heart breaking each time you saw a new post, a new smile, a new person by their side. You panicked. You wanted to reach out, to remind them you still exist. And in those moments, fear whispered, if I don't move, if I just stay right here, maybe they'll come back to find me. But here's the truth. Waiting is the surest way to lose yourself. Waiting is what keeps you stuck in the very version of yourself they felt comfortable leaving. And the moment you start to break that habit, the moment you decide to step off that platform and start walking into your own future, everything changes. Because nothing confuses them more than realizing the person they thought would wait forever is no longer there. Think of it like this. You're a fire. They left your warmth believing they could find it somewhere else. Maybe they did for a little while. Maybe they found sparks, candles, a quick flame that lit the night. But sparks fade, candles burn out, and sooner or later they remember the fire they once had, the fire that roared, the fire that gave without asking, the fire that made them feel alive. And when they come back looking for it, they realize something. That fire doesn't burn for them anymore. That fire now burns for you. Marcus Aurelius once said, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive. That's the energy detachment demands. Every morning you choose not to wait, you choose to live. You choose to honor your worth by refusing to sit on a platform, waiting for a train that has no schedule. And yes, it's hard. It feels like silence is surrender. It feels like not texting them is erasing yourself from their memory. It feels like letting go is giving up. But you know what it really is? It's choosing you. It's saying, I will not shrink myself into a waiting room just to keep the illusion of connection alive. My friends, fear will tell you the opposite. Fear will tell you that if you detach, they'll never think of you again. Fear will tell you that if you stay silent, they'll replace you forever. Fear will tell you that if you stop waiting, you're admitting defeat. But fear is a liar. Fear thrives in the unknown. Fear thrives in the silence between your thoughts. And the only way to crush it is to walk anyway, to detach anyway, to choose anyway. Because let me break this for you, people don't miss you when you wait. They miss you when you evolve. They don't regret losing someone who stays the same. They regret losing someone who outgrows the version they once knew. That's why waiting is dangerous. It keeps you small. It keeps you stuck in their shadow. But detachment Detachment makes you the storm they didn't see coming. Detachment makes you the mirror they can't ignore. Detachment makes you unforgettable. Think about this. What's more haunting to them? Seeing you broken, still waiting where they left you, or realizing that while they were busy smiling in someone else's arms, you became stronger, sharper, unrecognizable. It's not the waiting version of you that keeps them up at night. It's the evolving version. The version they didn't expect. The version they can't compete with. So stop waiting, folks. Stop giving them the comfort of knowing they can walk back into your life at any moment. Close the door, not to punish them, but to protect you. Close the chapter, not because you hate them, but because you love yourself enough to keep writing without them. Because when they look back, and they will, they won't find the person they left. They'll find someone new, someone stronger, someone who no longer needs to be chosen to feel valuable. Say this with me right now. I don't wait. I evolve. Write it in the comments below. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you're no longer the person who sits on the platform hoping for a return. You are the one building the tracks now. You are the one lighting the fire for yourself. You are the one choosing growth over fear. And stay with me, because in the next part, I'm going to show you why absence isn't emptiness, it's presence at a whole different level. That's where the real chase begins. That's where confusion turns into regret. And that, my friends, is where your power truly rises. Number 2, absence speaks louder than emotion. The quieter you become, the more you are able to hear. Lao Tzu said that centuries ago, but my friends, it's still the truth today. In relationships, in heartbreak, in life, silence has a weight that words can never carry. And when it comes to detachment, your absence becomes the loudest message they'll ever hear. See, when they walked away, they expected something from you. They expected the chase. They expected the late-night texts, the apologies, the desperate attempts to explain. They counted on your emotions filling the space they left behind. And in that space, they thought they'd have the power. Because here's what nobody tells you. When you show up emotionally after they've walked away, you're giving them leverage. Your vulnerability becomes their comfort. Your explanations become their reassurance. You may think you're proving love, but all you're really doing is proving their decision was right. Now imagine this. Imagine you've been shining like the sun every single day, pouring your warmth, your light, your energy into them. They wake up to it, go to sleep in it, and never question it. Then suddenly, darkness. The sun disappears. The warmth is gone. The light is gone. The familiar glow they never appreciated is nowhere to be found. That's what emotional absence feels like. It doesn't scream. It doesn't argue. It doesn't beg. It simply vanishes. And the moment it vanishes, they feel it more deeply than they ever felt your presence. My friends, let's break another lie right here. You've been told that if you love someone, you should keep showing up no matter what. That if you care, you should keep fighting, keep proving, keep pouring into them, even when they're no longer pouring into you. But that's not love. That's self-betrayal. Real love requires balance. Real connection requires reciprocity. And when it's one-sided, your presence becomes noise. It becomes background music they tune out. That's why silence works, because silence creates scarcity, and scarcity creates value. But let's be real, it's not easy. Silence feels heavy at first. The urge to break it will tempt you daily. Your fingers will hover over your phone. You'll draft the text, then delete it. You'll convince yourself that one message won't hurt, one call won't ruin the progress. And yet, every time you break the silence, you hand them comfort on a silver platter. You relieve their doubt, you ease their ego, and you reset the game back to their advantage. Absence is difficult because it feels like surrender. You think, if I don't speak, if I don't show up, won't they forget me? Won't they move on? But here's the paradox. You become unforgettable in your absence. Think of a favorite song. You've played it over and over until the notes blur. Then one day, it's gone. You can't find it on the radio. It disappears from your playlist. Suddenly, you crave it. Suddenly, you hum the melody in your sleep. Silence does that. It transforms your presence from routine into rarity, and rarity is what haunts them. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." When someone leaves expecting your reaction, the greatest power is to give none. To rise instead, to detach, to stay calm, to withhold the explanation they think they're entitled to. That's when they start to hear their own doubts in the silence you left behind. Here's the wild part. Silence doesn't just affect them in obvious ways. It sneaks in during the quiet moments. When they're lying next to someone new. When they scroll at night and notice your name isn't there anymore. When they check their phone out of habit and don't see your message. That's when absence becomes presence. That's when your silence speaks. And trust me, my friends, they will feel it. They may not admit it. They may never say it out loud. But the weight of your absence will follow them, because silence forces them to face what they lost without you handing them comfort along the way. Silence makes them question. Silence makes them wonder. Silence makes them compare. Now let me tell you why most people never get to this stage. Because silence demands discipline. It demands you choose long-term power over short-term relief. It demands you sit with your own emotions instead of handing them to the person who caused them. And discipline is rare. That's why most people chase. That's why most people break. But you're different. You're here because you're ready to rise above the noise. So here's your reminder. Your silence is not weakness. It's strength. It's dignity. It's the quiet storm that shakes them harder than any explanation ever could. Let your absence be the echo they can't escape. Let it be the mirror that forces them to see what they lost. Don't post cryptic quotes. Don't drop hints. Don't make your healing a performance. Just vanish. Move in silence. Build in silence. Rise in silence. And when they finally realize what your presence meant, it'll be too late. Say this with me right now. My silence is power. Write it in the comments below. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you're no longer afraid of being quiet. Because quiet doesn't mean forgotten. Quiet means powerful. Quiet means rare. Quiet means you're finally in control. And stay with me, because in the next part, I'm going to show you how healing in their absence doesn't just confuse them, it makes you unforgettable. That's where the real shift happens. That's where the chase begins. Number 3. Heal so hard. It makes them curious. The wound is the place where the light enters you. That was Rumi, and my friends, it's one of the most powerful truths you'll ever hear. Because right now, that wound they left you with, it feels like it's going to consume you. It feels like it's bleeding you dry, like nothing can fill it. But here's the paradox. That very wound is the doorway to your greatest evolution. And when you step through it, when you heal instead of chase, you don't just move on. You become unrecognizable. You become the version of yourself they can't stop thinking about, even if they swore they were done. Let's get real. Detachment is the first step, but healing is the fire that forges you into something rare. Without healing, detachment is just silence, and silence without transformation is only temporary. They might get confused at first, but if you don't grow, they'll remember why they walked away. That's why healing matters. It turns absence into presence. It turns curiosity into obsession. It turns regret into reality. Picture this. You're standing in front of a mirror. At first, you see the same face they left behind, the tired eyes, the drained energy, the man who stayed up too late waiting for their texts. But then something shifts. Day by day you start stacking bricks. A workout here, a book there, a new habit, a new mindset. Brick by brick, you're building a castle they never believed you could create. And one day you look in that mirror again and realize you don't even recognize yourself anymore. The version they knew is gone. The version they took for granted is buried. In its place stands a man who doesn't need them to validate his worth. That's when healing becomes haunting, because when they look back, they don't see the man they left. They see the man they can't have anymore. Here's where people get it wrong. Most try to heal as a performance. They hit the gym and post selfies hoping their ex sees. They share quotes online with captions dripping in pain, hoping it stirs a reaction. They dress up, go out, and upload photos just to show they're living their best life. But let me tell you something. If your healing is just another way to get their attention, you're still chasing. You've just put a different mask on the same need. Real healing doesn't need an audience. Real healing is ruthless, it's quiet, it's internal, it's you sitting with the pain at 2 a.m., dissecting it, owning it, understanding it, and then turning it into fuel. And that's exactly what terrifies them. Because most people expect you to fall apart when they leave. They expect you to break. They expect you to stay stuck. And when instead you rise, when instead you look lighter, stronger, calmer, that contrast hits them harder than anything you could ever say, because the version they once controlled, the version that begged, the version that stayed small, that version no longer exists. And nothing creates more curiosity than realizing the person you left has become someone you can't even reach anymore. Think about it. They'll be lying next to someone else, scrolling through their phone, pretending they've moved on. Then suddenly your name pops up in conversation, or a picture of you slides across their feed, and for a split second they freeze. They remember the old you, the one they left behind, but now they see the new you, sharper, rarer, untouchable. That gap between who you were and who you've become, that's what haunts them. That's what keeps them wondering, did I leave right before he became everything I wanted him to be? Marcus Aurelius once said, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. That's healing in action. It's not pretending they never hurt you. It's realizing the pain was never your prison, only your teacher, and once you learn, you don't need to repeat the lesson. My friends, I won't lie. Healing isn't glamorous. There will be nights you miss them so badly your chest aches. There will be mornings you wake up and reach for your phone before remembering there's nothing there. There will be moments you wonder if all this effort is worth it. But healing isn't about them. It's about you. It's about becoming free from the story that held you hostage. It's about becoming the man who doesn't break just because someone couldn't see his worth. And here's the irony. They may never say it, but your healing will reach them. Not through your posts, not through your words, but through whispers, through energy, through the quiet glow that comes from someone who rebuilt himself without needing validation. That's the glow they can't ignore. That's the glow they can't replace. So stop waiting for closure. Stop waiting for an apology. Stop waiting for them to notice. Heal for you. Heal so hard that their curiosity turns into regret. Heal so deeply that your peace is louder than your pain ever was. Say this with me right now. I heal for me. Write it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world that your comeback isn't about being seen. It's about being free. And stay with me, because in the next part, we're going to talk about how to build a life so solid, so untouchable, that even if they beg to return, you'll be too far ahead to turn back. That's when power becomes permanent. Number 4. Build a life that doesn't look back. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Those words from Marcus Aurelius carry a weight, my friends, because they're not just philosophy, they're strategy. You see, when someone leaves, the temptation is to spend your days watching the door, waiting for them to knock again. But if you want real power, if you want to make them chase even after they've convinced themselves they've moved on, you don't wait. You build. You create a life so full, so complete, so unapologetically yours, that even if they wanted to return, they wouldn't know where to fit. Let's get honest here. The hardest part about heartbreak isn't the loss of the person, it's the pause it puts on your own life. You stop moving. You stop growing. You freeze, like your story can't go on without them. But here's the lie, that your future is tied to their presence. No, my friends, your future is tied to your choices. And the most powerful choice you can make is to build forward, not backward. Imagine this. You're building a kingdom. At first, when they were with you, you left an empty throne beside yours, waiting for them to sit in it. You built rooms you thought they'd walk through, doors you thought they'd open, gardens you thought they'd admire, but then they left. And what do most people do? They leave the throne empty. They keep the door cracked. They water the garden, hoping one day the same person will come back to enjoy it. That's not building. That's waiting in disguise. And nothing weakens you more than designing your future around someone who chose not to be in it. Instead, you build for you. You stop leaving space for their return. You stop saving a seat at the table. You start constructing a life that doesn't look back. And here's the beauty of it. When they do look back, when they glance over their shoulder to see if you're still there, what they'll find is a kingdom so vast, so alive, so self-sufficient that they won't even recognize it. They'll realize they don't fit anymore. And that realization cuts deeper than any silence ever could. But let's not sugarcoat it. Building while broken is hard. You'll have days when your body wants to stay in bed, scrolling through old memories. You'll have nights when your mind whispers, "What's the point if they're not here to see it?" And those are the moments you need to remind yourself. You're not building to be seen. You're building to be strong. You're building because your life has value even without an audience. You're building because the man who rises from heartbreak is 10 times stronger than the man who was never tested. Think of it like training in silence. A boxer doesn't get strong in the spotlight. He gets strong in the gym when nobody's watching. That's you. Every workout, every book you read, every dollar you save, every new habit you stack. It's a rep, it's a brick, it's a step toward becoming untouchable. And when the day comes that your name crosses their mind, it won't be the broken version of you they remember. It'll be the new version, the one they'll hear about in whispers, the one they'll see in glimpses, the one they'll regret ever letting go. And here's the twist. When you stop building with them in mind, that's when they feel it the most. Because people expect you to perform. They expect you to flex your progress just so they notice. But when you truly don't care if they see it, when your success is for you and you alone, that indifference is magnetic. That's when your glow becomes undeniable. That's when your presence becomes powerful. That's when they start asking themselves, was I really part of the best version of his life? Or did I walk away right before he became everything I needed? Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. And wasting your life waiting for someone to validate you. That's the biggest waste of all. Don't give them that power. Don't let them be the reason your story stalls. Move forward, build forward, love forward. Because when you do, you're not just creating a life they can't re-enter. You're creating a life you don't want them to re-enter. So build your body, build your mind, build your money, build your peace, build your mission. Build a life so intentional that when they remember you, they realize the man they left behind is gone, replaced by someone they'll never get access to again. Say this with me right now. I build for me. Type it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you're done keeping a seat open for the past, because the table you're building now isn't for those who walked away. It's for the future you're stepping into. And stay with me, because in the next part, we'll talk about the quiet weapon that makes your progress echo louder than any words ever could. Your silence. That's where the real chase begins. Number 5. Silence is not weakness, it's power that echoes. Silence is a source of great strength. Lao Tzu said it centuries ago, but my friends, most people still don't understand it. They confuse silence with surrender. They confuse detachment with defeat. But here's the truth. Silence is not you giving up. It's you rising above. And when you learn to master it, silence doesn't just speak, it echoes, it lingers, it bends the air around them until they can't ignore it anymore. When they walked away, what did they expect? Noise. They expected you to panic, to call, to text paragraphs that poured your heart out. They expected you to post sad quotes, throw hints, or maybe even lash out in anger. They expected a performance. And why? Because that's what almost everyone gives them. That's what keeps their ego fed. But you do the opposite. You go quiet. And my friends, nothing shakes their confidence more than silence that refuses to explain itself. Think of it like this. You were once their favorite song on repeat. They heard it every day, grew used to the rhythm, maybe even stopped appreciating it because it was always there. Then suddenly, the music stops, the room grows still, and at first they shrug it off. But then the silence creeps in. They hear their own thoughts echoing louder than they'd like. They realize the soundtrack they took for granted is gone. That's what your silence does. It forces them to sit in the void your presence once filled. Now, let's break another lie. We've been told for too long that love is proven by showing up again and again, even when the other person has left. That if you care, you'll never stop reaching out. But my friends, that's not love. That's dependency. Real strength is not in always being available. Real strength is in knowing when to withdraw, when to stop offering energy to someone who has stopped valuing it. Silence doesn't mean you don't care. Silence means you finally care enough about yourself to stop wasting words where they no longer land. But I'll be real with you. Silence will test you. In the beginning, it will feel like torture. You'll pick up your phone, write a message, and stare at the blinking cursor. You'll imagine them laughing with someone else, moving on, forgetting you, and fear will whisper, if you don't speak now, you'll lose them forever. That fear is a trap, because every time you break the silence, you don't bring them closer, you give them relief. You soothe their doubts. You prove you're still orbiting their world. And that's not power. That's surrender dressed up as love. Silence, on the other hand, flips the power dynamic. Suddenly, they're the ones checking their phone, wondering why you haven't reached out. Suddenly, they're the ones asking themselves, is he hurting? Did he move on? Does he even care? That shift eats at them, even if they never admit it, because people don't value what's always there. They value what disappears. They don't chase noise, they chase mystery. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." That's what silence is. A calm mind turned into a weapon. It's you refusing to argue, refusing to explain, refusing to prove yourself to someone who already chose to walk away. And the irony is that calmness, that stillness, it haunts them more than any angry outburst ever could. Imagine this. You used to like their posts. Now nothing. You used to check their stories. Now gone. You used to answer immediately, always ready, always available. Now silence. And the wild part? You don't announce it. You don't post a speech about how you're moving on. You don't make it a performance. You just vanish. That's when they feel it. Because silence doesn't need an audience. Silence carries its own weight. And let me remind you, silence is not passive. It's active discipline. It's strength under control. It's the decision to let your growth speak louder than your words. Because here's the thing. People can argue with your words, but they can't argue with your absence. They can dismiss your feelings, but they can't ignore the emptiness when your energy is gone. They can pretend they don't care, but they can't escape the echo of what used to be there. So stop thinking silence makes you weak. It makes you rare. It makes you unforgettable. It makes you the question they can't answer, the memory they can't erase, the presence they can't replace. Don't try to outshout their pride. Outlast it. Don't try to prove your worth with noise. Prove it with calm. Don't try to remind them of who you were. Become someone so focused, so centered, so unbothered, that silence itself becomes your voice. Say this with me right now. My silence is power. Write it in the comments below. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you no longer need noise to be heard. Because the quieter you go, the louder your presence becomes. And stay with me, because in the next part, we're going to talk about the mirror effect. The brutal moment when they realize their replacement doesn't even compare to the person you've become. That's where regret truly begins. Number 6. The mirror effect. Let them compare. Comparison is the thief of joy. Theodore Roosevelt said that, and my friends, it's not just about envying others. It's about the quiet torment that begins when they look back at you, then look at the person standing next to them and realize something doesn't add up. That's the mirror effect. And when you master detachment, you don't have to say a word. You don't have to post, beg, or prove. Life itself becomes a mirror, and it forces them to compare what they thought they could replace with what they actually have. See, when they left, they told themselves a story. They believed you had peaked. They believed someone else would give them more spark, more excitement, more validation. And maybe at first it even felt true. The newness gave them butterflies, the thrill distracted them from the guilt, and their pride convinced them they'd upgraded. But pride is loud, and truth is quiet, and over time, truth always finds a way to whisper in their ear. That whisper begins the moment they start comparing. Imagine this. They're sitting across from their replacement having dinner. The conversation flows, but not like it did with you. The laughs come, but they don't echo the same. The comfort is there, but it doesn't burn with the same warmth. And then, out of nowhere, a memory of you flashes across their mind. The way you said something silly at the right moment. The way you listened when no one else would. The way your presence felt like calm in the middle of chaos. Suddenly, the person across from them doesn't look like enough anymore. Suddenly, they can't help but compare. And here's the secret. You don't force this mirror. You don't need to. The more you evolve, the more you rise. The more you glow in silence, the clearer that reflection becomes. Because when they look back and see you growing, disciplined, unbothered, rare, they're not just seeing who you are now. They're seeing what they lost. They're seeing who you became without them. And nothing creates regret faster than realizing you've been replaced by someone who doesn't even come close. But let's break the lie here. Many of you think comparison happens when you try to show off, when you post pictures looking your best, when you try to flaunt your progress so they notice. That's not the mirror effect. That's still chasing, just in disguise. The real mirror effect happens when you stop caring if they're watching. When your life becomes so full and so authentic that even second-hand whispers about you make them pause. It's not about them seeing you on purpose. It's about them stumbling across your evolution and realizing it's undeniable. And here's what makes it brutal for them. The version they left behind doesn't exist anymore. They can't go back to the man who used to answer every message, who used to explain every feeling, who used to be available at the drop of a hat. No, that version is gone. And the new version? He doesn't look back. He doesn't wait. He doesn't make space for people who made him feel like an option. That's when comparison turns into confusion. And confusion, my friends, is the seed of regret. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it." That's what comparison does. It exposes their judgment. They start questioning themselves. Did I really choose right? Did I leave too soon? Did I mistake newness for better? Did I let go of something that was about to become priceless? And those questions, they don't go away. They linger, they replay, they echo in the back of their mind like a song they can't shake. Think about it. They'll scroll at night, lying next to someone else, and your face flashes in their memory. They'll hear your name in passing, and their chest tightens for just a second. They'll see a glimpse of you, healthier, calmer, sharper, and the mirror slams down in front of them. And the worst part? They can't unsee it. They can't escape the truth that the version of you they left is not the version that exists anymore. And let me tell you this, you don't need to compete. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to flex on social media to make them jealous. You just need to keep becoming, because the man who keeps becoming doesn't cause comparison. He becomes the standard. He doesn't seek attention, he commands it. He doesn't beg for a seat at someone else's table, he builds his own. So, my friends, don't fear the mirror. Use it. Let your growth reflect back into their life without you lifting a finger. Let your silence, your discipline, your peace become the image they can't shake. Because when they compare what they have now to who you've become, the result isn't even close. And that's when regret begins to gnaw at them, piece by piece. Say this with me right now, I outgrow the old me. Type it in the comments below. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you're no longer competing, you're creating, you're no longer chasing, you're becoming. And stay with me, because in the next part, we'll talk about what happens when that regret finally sets in, when confusion turns into a haunting they can't run from. That's when the chase truly begins. Number 7. When they come back, you decide. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Epictetus said that, and my friends, it's the final truth you need to hear. Because here's the part nobody tells you. When you detach, when you heal, when you build, when you let your silence echo, 9 times out of 10, they come back. Not always with an apology, not always in the way you imagined, but they circle back. They test the waters. They send a message, a like, a casual hey that's meant to sound innocent but is loaded with curiosity. And in that moment, the power isn't in their return. The power is in your decision. Let's be clear, they don't come back because you begged. They don't come back because you explained. They don't come back because you broke down and showed them how much you cared. No, they come back because your absence became too loud to ignore. They come back because the version of you they thought they'd outgrown became the version they can't stop thinking about. They come back because your silence didn't scream, it transformed. And now, standing in front of you, they realize they're not looking at the same man they left. Imagine this. They're walking through the house of memory, trying to open old doors, expecting the same familiar rooms to still be there. But when they turn the handle, they find walls rebuilt, furniture gone, doors sealed shut. They thought you'd freeze in the past, but instead you constructed an entirely new home, one where they no longer have a key. That realization hits harder than anything you could have said, because now, for the first time, they understand that you moved on, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring for yourself. And here's where you must be stronger than ever. because the temptation to let them back in will be real. The emotions will rise. Your heart will whisper, "This is what I wanted all along." But pause. Look around. Look at who you've become. Look at the strength, the peace, the fire you've built. Ask yourself, do they deserve to be in this new story? Or are they just a ghost of the old one? Remember this, they left expecting to return to the same version of you. They left believing you'd always be there, waiting. But the man standing here today, he's not waiting, he's not begging, he's not trying to be chosen. He chooses, he decides. He doesn't ask for permission to rise. He doesn't shrink himself to fit back into an old mold. He doesn't trade his progress for temporary comfort. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one, and that's what you've done. You've become, you've built, you've risen. And now, when they come back, it's not about revenge. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about standing firm in who you've become. It's about realizing that their return doesn't validate you. You already validated yourself by becoming better without them." Here's the paradox. They come back hoping to find the door cracked open, but instead they find a man who built a new door entirely, one that only he controls, and that terrifies them. Because rare energy is either worshipped or feared, and you, my friend, are now rare. You don't chase, you don't wait, you don't explain, you decide. So if that moment comes and they try to step back into your life, remember this truth. You hold the power. Not them. You. Maybe you'll choose to listen. Maybe you won't. But whatever you decide, it'll be from strength, not from desperation. Because you didn't rebuild yourself just to hand your worth away again. You didn't rise from the ashes just to crawl back into the fire. Say this with me right now. I decide who stays. Write it in the comments below. Show them, show yourself. Show the world that you are no longer the man who waits, but the man who chooses. And if this message hit you deep, if it lit a fire in your chest and reminded you of your power, then do me a favor. Smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Because the journey doesn't end here. What's coming next is even more powerful. Together, we're not just healing, we're rising, we're becoming, we're reclaiming everything that was always ours. Stay rare, stay solid, stay untouchable.